Performance and scooters are not two things that would usually be spoken about in the same conversation, at least up to 8 years ago when TVS first introduced the Ntorq 125. Now, TVS was not the first to introduce a sporty scooter in the market, but they were the first to be very successful at it and make sure that sporty scooters are a good number of the scooter sales that happen on a yearly basis. Today, what we have with us is the new chapter in the Ntorq story. Say hello to the TVS Ntorq 150. As the name suggests, this is the bigger sibling to the already successful 125. And in this video, I'm going to be telling you everything you need to know about this new sporty scooter from TVS. But before we proceed, don't forget to like this video, share it to like-minded enthusiasts, and smash that bell icon for all of our video drops. Now, the Ntorq 125, it was always a bold, out there, in your face, very outlandish for the time scooter in terms of its styling, while still conforming to the silhouette of what a scooter should look like. And to that end, TVS has gone really wild with this Ntorq 150, and I mean that in the best way possible. I mean, just take a look at this scooter. It's a radical departure from the Ntorq 125, but at the same time, it still has the main ethos that made the Ntorq special, and this really does look like it belongs to the Ntorq family. But at the same time, you also see a lot of inspiration from the X, the electric scooter that we saw, in the way that this front apron is shaped, in the way that the handlebar is exposed and the instrument cluster is nestled above it. I really like the front end of this scooter. Now, coming and sticking to the front end, now you have these new TDRLs. It's the new motif for the Ntorq 150, which you will also see at the rear with the tail light design. Again, very similar but very dissimilar at the same time. The styling of this scooter, it is really nice, it's really funky, it's youthful, it's a little more mature, but it's a little more outlandish as well. They've struck that balance really nicely. Now, if you look at the headlights, this is the first scooter in the country to get not one, not two, but 4 projector LED headlamps, 2 of which do your regular beam duties and the other 2 take care of your high beam duties. Now, coming up, unlike the Ntorq 125, you don't have a big cowl over here. Like I said, the handlebar is exposed, and moving behind you have a color TFT instrument cluster, the same one that does duties on the RTR 310, but over here this is got a bit of a new layout. It's gaming inspired, as TVS tells us, and all the menus and the design of the UI is in a gaming fashion. In terms of the switch cube that you get, again, picked right off of the RTR 310, and that's good. It feels very premium, it feels nice to the touch, and you also have this nice mechanism for the brake lock. It's very intuitive. There's a very tactile sense that you know that you have locked the brake or not, and it's relatively easier to get than with the other ones that you have. The right switch cube, again, just like the RR310 and the RTR 310, very functional, very minimalist, but at the same time there's a lot going on as well. Now, if you come below, you have the front apron, you have a nice 2-liter storage over here, and you have your key fob on the side. Now, the overall ergonomics and the way you interact with the scooter is largely similar, barring the fact that this front end feels a little more vacant, and you also have a wider handlebar. But if you sit on it, the floorboard and everything else is pretty much unchanged. I'm 5'10", and the handlebar, even almost at full lock, doesn't really foul with my knees or any of the sort. The seat height remains at 770 mm, and it's a slightly longer and wider seat as well, so the pillion accommodation should be better too. Now, TVS also tells us that they have made the grab rails a little wider, so that while the seat is also wider, you don't need to squeeze behind to grab onto the grab rails. It's a wider reach, and then you have the redesigned rear. Now, apart from that, in terms of styling, the only one thing that I feel is a bit of a miss, I will get into more detail about it later, is the fact that this continues to get 12-inch wheels, which come in some really nice accenting colors, but they are 12 inches and not 14 inches. This, I feel, is a bit of a miss, especially aesthetically speaking, because the rest of the scooter, they've really taken it up a notch. What do you think about the design? Let us know in the comment section down below. Right, so let's talk about the engine on this new Ntorq 150. Now, TVS says this is a new engine, but it is essentially derived from the 125cc motor that does duties in the Ntorq. This has been bored out to give you the extra displacement, and with that comes a good bump in power as well. Now, in terms of outputs, you have 13 bhp and 14.2 newton meters of torque, 0.7 of which is enabled by the iGo boost function. Now, this is something we first saw with the Jupiter 110, and it essentially works like a boost function that you'd find in EVs or even turbocharged vehicles. So you get on the gas when you're already on the boil, you have a notification on your screen saying that iGo boost is ready to use, and you get it for 5 seconds. It essentially fills in the torque curve a little. Now to that end, TVS tells us that the torque curve on this Ntorq is far better than its rivals, in the sense that it's flat right from the start up till the very end where it starts to taper off, and riding it definitely does seem that way, because it feels as punchy as it does in the low end, as it does in the mid range, and to an extent in the top end as well. Now TVS claims that this can do 104 kilometers per hour as its top speed, and it can accelerate from 0 to 60 in roughly 6.3 seconds, which is close to 2 seconds faster than the Ntorq 125 would, and it certainly does feel that way. I don't have a V-Box, so I don't have the exact figures. I can't tell you that right now, but from memory, this definitely feels significantly quicker than the Ntorq 125, and that was already a very lovable, a very peppy motor to begin with. So they have played to the strength of that engine and made it even more. There's excess of everything, and it does it very well. Refinement levels are also really good. The acceleration is very strong till up to 60-70. By the time you hit 85-90 kmph, that's when the acceleration sort of starts to taper out. In this TVS test track that we have here, which has a roughly 500 meters straight, I managed to do 101 kilometers per hour on this speedo. With my weight, I feel that is more than good enough, and the fact that you have good enough mid-range and low-end torque, and there's good enough roll-on acceleration at any given point of time till 70 kilometers per hour is very good, because the primary use case for the scooter is going to be in the city, and that's where you need most of the pep, and that's where all of the pep is. Now TVS has achieved this performance and the displacement and all by also working on the other elements like the camshaft and the thermal efficiency of this motor. So it is significantly better than on the Ntorq 125, which allows TVS to get consistently higher performance despite the riding conditions. We rode for 30 minutes and I don't remember the speeds dropping below 65-70 kmph. They were mostly above 80 kmph, throttle pinned wide open, no increase in temperature. Everything was very nice and very sorted. Now in terms of the iGo boost function, I really don't know how much it works, because I did see it come on a few times, but unlike the Jupiter, which is a significantly slower scooter, I really didn't feel much of a difference in the acceleration. Maybe if I spend a little more time with it and understand how the torque kicks in and how and where there is a performance difference, maybe I'll be able to tell you better about that. But as of right now, in the scenarios where we were riding it, I didn't really feel a difference. Again, that's primarily because I was full throttle most of the time. So maybe when you're accelerating from slower speeds from a traffic stop, you will feel the significant difference that the 0.7 Newton meter torque that the iGo boost provides, that may be more apparent that time. But all in all, as an engine, based on this short first ride that we had, I'm really impressed with what TVS has done with the Ntorq 150. Now, we cannot talk about the Ntorq and not talk about ride and handling, because this, after all, is a TVS product, and this is a product of their motorsport division as well, because as we all know, the Ntorq, before being launched to the public, was first raced at the INMRC, and they had great success over there. Now, like the 125, this 150 is a great handler. It strikes a very nice balance between being a comfortable scooter and a sporty one. Now, coming to how we rode this scooter, we've been riding at TVS's test track, which is one long straight, one long sweeping right-hander, a short kink left, and a long straight and a U-turn, and the whole thing starts all over again. Now, that's not a very diverse mix of turns and corners to really tell you what it is like, but from what I experienced over here, I can tell you right off the bat that this retains the Ntorq nature, and I feel because of that extra power, it just pushes that one step further. Now, in terms of the chassis, TVS tells us that it is more or less the same chassis from the 125, but strengthened and tweaked in all the correct places to accommodate the extra power that the motor now generates. And to that end, you still have 12-inch wheels at the front and the rear. You have the same telescopic forks at the front and the single monocoque at the rear. Now, the tuning also, of course, has been changed a little. It is still on the softer side, which means it's not as stiff as something like an Aprilia SR, or not nearly as stiff as the Yamaha Aerox 155. But I feel like this is a very good compromise that they have struck, because there are a few bumps over here, and even riding on these cobbled streets, which is a part of their testing and validation cycles, the Ntorq, it feels very composed, it feels very calm, but at the same time, when you're leaned over at higher speeds, like at 80, 85 kmph, you leaned over and really going for it, it does feel a little wallowy. But then again, I am on the really heavier side, so that is something to account for. But it never felt unstable or precarious. Everything felt nice and taut. And yeah, like I said, I have one complaint, and that is the wheels. Now bear in mind, this is not a complaint in the way that the scooter handles, because TVS has tested this with 14-inch wheels as well, and they decided that the 12-inch wheels were the way to go because of there's a lot of scientific jargon that was spoken about in the technical briefing, not things I want to bore you with, but essentially to strike the balance of what an Ntorq should be according to TVS, 12-inch wheels did the job the best. And I will agree with the fact that I didn't really feel like I needed a bigger wheel. Maybe when the road conditions are really bad, you would appreciate having a larger diameter wheel to cope with the bad potholes and all that, but in terms of riding it in a sporty situation or even over a few undulations, it felt perfectly at home. From a visual point of view though, I feel like with this updated design, 14-inch wheels would have been very nice, but as it stands, it's not at all disappointing. But again, just for that visual mass, it's just one of those things, right? Now, in terms of braking, now TVS has done a very good job. You have adjustable levers for both the brakes. Braking performance is very solid. It's not too sharp so as to coax the suspension to dive a lot if you're braking hard, but at the same time, there's enough bite, enough feedback, and enough progression to get you to a quick halt when you need to, or to control the braking forces through a corner. So all in all, I feel like TVS has done a very good job with the Ntorq 150, and the fact that they didn't need to do a lot of work with the Ntorq 125 to get here itself is saying something, because the chassis was already great. Now in terms of seat height, this is a 770 seat height. It's very comfortable. It's on the main stand and I can still flat foot. There's enough room for my legs, the foot pegs. The handlebar doesn't foul with my knees. The wider handlebar aids in tipping the scooter into corners and getting it out of corners much better. The curb weight is 115 kilograms, so it's still very nimble. It's still very agile. It is still a proper TVS Ntorq. Now, if you've been following TVS's products for the last few years, you'll know that they've been really going for it in the features department, and this Ntorq 150 is no different. In fact, TVS claims that this has the most number of features in its segment, and from what all they tell us, I believe it is true, because this has the same color TFT screen from the RTR 310, the same orientation. Like I said in the design bit, that the UI of the screen has been modified with a lot of gaming inspiration, and apart from that, in terms of features, you get your turn-by-turn navigation, phone connectivity, Bluetooth connectivity, all of that. You have a SIM built into the scooter, and that's baked into the price of the scooter, so that will have all your geofencing and tracking and all of those capabilities. You also have smartphone and Alexa integration, and along with that you also have smartwatch integration. So basically all your data comes back home to you. You can access all your data from your smartwatch if you're wearing one which is compatible with this. They have compatibility for both iOS and Android, and you also have phone connectivity, which is not new, but the smartwatch thing is pretty cool. So all in all, on the features front, while we didn't get to test all of it today because it's a very short experiential ride, this is something I will get into when we do get the scooter for a longer road test. But again, on the features front, TVS has been killing it as always. Now with all of that said, we come to the end of this first impressions video of the TVS Ntorq 150, and I must say the first impressions are really solid. There's not much that TVS has given me to complain about this Ntorq 150, barring the fact, like I said, this is just a visual problem, not a functional problem. The fact that it doesn't get 14-inch wheels. Now this is something that TVS has anticipated and they're expecting flack for it, but again, this was a very strategic decision on their part, made with a lot of deliberation after doing a lot of testing. And if there is anything that I will not question TVS for, it is their ride and handling. Now in the situation and the environment that we were riding in today, I couldn't really get a proper understanding of the ride quality, but the initial impressions suggest that it should ride very well, a proper balance between comfort and sporty. But I will definitely verify that claim when I do get it for a proper road test back at home. Now we don't know the price of this scooter yet. If we do come to know the price before you see this video, it will be in the text box either on the screen or in the description below, so keep your eyes peeled for that. But I feel if TVS can price this under 1,30,000 or at the 1,30,000 mark, they have a winner on their hands, because this is not only a good striking scooter to look at, it's a great one to ride as well. And in typical TVS fashion, it has and checks all the right boxes that you expect from a sporty scooter. Now that's what I think about the Ntorq 150. What do you think about it? Let us know. Do you think this is a worthy successor, a worthy elder sibling to the Ntorq 125? Let us know in the comment section down below, and let's have a conversation. And as always, thank you for watching.